In this third and last video for the review for Unit 7, I'm looking at numbers 17, 18, 19, and 20. And 17 starts with angles inside a circle where you have two chords intersecting, and it asks you to find the value of x and y. Now if you look at x and y and where they're placed, hopefully you can look at the y and notice that it's the angle. So this y is representing an angle, and that x is outside the circle and that it represents an arc. So now we have to remember a few things about these angle patterns and arc patterns for circles. Now, hopefully the easier one that you have to solve for, and actually you have to solve for it first, is y. Now, if you look at the y, this is old stuff, but way back in probably the first, I think it's the first unit, we worked with this kind of angle pattern where you had two angles that were supplementary. They connected to make a straight line. Now it's upside down, but you worked with this kind of pattern quite a bit in first semester, where those two angles added up to 180 degrees. Same idea here. Now to solve for y, you're going to take 180 and you're going to subtract 86. And when you subtract, you should get 94 degrees. So y is now done. That's now 94 degrees. Now when you start solving for x, with this pattern you had, I always called it a bow tie pattern, because you had an angle on the inside and you could draw this bow tie that held the angle inside with the arcs on either side of the angle. And when we did that pattern, one formula that we did, and I'll draw an example of it over here, so you have two arcs, the angle inside, we might call this A. We would take these two sides of the bow tie, they would be added together and put equal to 2 times the angle. So it would be 2 times the angle equals arc plus arc. Now usually those are different size arcs, so usually you have a big arc and a little arc. I'm going to abbreviate little. But that's how we're trying to solve this one. So we're taking 2 times the angle, adding the two arcs on either side. Now the tough thing is the angle again has to be inside the circle. And the one angle inside the circle and inside the bow tie is this 94 that we just solved for. So we're going to plug that into the A. That becomes 2 times 94 equals. Now the big arc would be the x on the left side, plus the little arc would be the 85 on the right side. So now we got it set up. Now we just have to do our algebra, multiply through, and solve from there. So this now becomes 188 equals x plus 85, and then we have to subtract 85. Excuse me, and you get x equals 103 degrees. So now y was 94, x is 103. Number 18, it says given ABCD is inscribed in the circle below. They want us to find down here the measure of both of those missing angles in quadrilateral ABCD. And to get those is pretty easy if you remember the quick little idea of the theorem that if you have an inscribed quadrilateral, which you do, it's inscribed because these 4 points are on the circle, then the opposite angles are supplementary. So when you look at angle D, opposite from angle D is this 104. You can take now 180 and subtract 104 to get angle D. And to do that, and when you do that, you get 76. So there's the first nice, quick, easy answer. There's 76 degrees. I'm also going to put it up there. Now to get angle C, same idea, but now the angle opposite from C is this one, angle A, 93 degrees. So now I'm going to take 180, same idea, and subtract 93. And when I do that, I get 87 degrees. So now angle C is 87. The last question says, what is the measure of angle BAD? This is one of the hardest ones to see visually on the circle. First, again, remember that this symbol is the arc, which is the curve on the circle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase a lot of this, most of it, and I'm going to highlight that arc at BAD. So I'm going to start at B, go through A to D. And there was a problem like this in one of the other videos, but just as a refresher, remember that when you look at this arc, when you're trying to find the measure, you're looking across from that arc. You want to try to find the angle that intercepts that arc. So notice I'm drawing from both points where that arc ended, from B and D, they should draw to one common point, which is C. There is your inscribed angle. Now, remember, when your angle is inscribed, it's always doubled to get the arc. So to get this arc BAD, I just have to take the 87 and I have to double it. 2 times 87 is 174 degrees. There is that measure of arc BAD. Okay, here's the last one in the video, and I lied to you earlier. I said I was going to do 17 through 20, but if you look at number 19, I did in the same video I did number 17, and 17 and 19 are very, very close to one another. So if you got 17, then you should be able to do 19 based on what you did on 17. And the same idea with number 20. 18 and 20 are very close to one another. So if you understood 18, then hopefully you should be able to do 20 also. What I will do is I'll look at part of 21. I'm not going to look at the whole thing. But number 21 starts with, some people were overheard discussing the following equation, and they give you this equation, x minus 5 quantity squared plus the quantity y plus 6 squared equals 100. And they give you statements from 3 people, Dan, Oliver, and Ms. Ham. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at just one of these people, because at the bottom it says, please help these people with their misunderstandings and correct their errors. In other words, based on that statement, all 3 of these people made mistakes in what they said and in their statements. So we have to look at each one individually, and I'm going to look at what Dan said first here, and I'll let you try the other 2 on your own. But for Dan, it says, Dan drove the conversation by saying it has a diameter of 50 because 100 divided by 4 is 25, and 2 times 25 is 50. So he's thinking, he's kind of on the right track. Now remember that for the equation of the circle, remember that it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So in the formula, they've taken the radius and squared it, and they've gotten 100. Now Dan is thinking, oh, if I want to find the number that is the radius, I'm going to take this 100, I'm going to divide it by 4 to get 25, and then since he thinks that 25 is the radius, he's going to multiply it by 2. 2 times 25 is 50, because he knows that on the radius, if that's the radius, then all the way across is the diameter. So he's thinking, oh, I've got 25 here and I got 25 there, so I'm going to multiply that by 2 and get 50. So the concept that he's doing, just the idea of multiplying by 2, that is actually correct, but his mistake is in the beginning, is what the very first thing he did. So I'm going to look at the very first thing, which is he took 100 and divided by 4. Now, if you are dealing with r squared and you want r, you're taking the square root. That's his mistake. He should have taken the square root of 100. So 1 square root of 100 is actually 10, so which means that the radius is 10. So if you're thinking visually about the circle, this is now 10. The diameter would then be double that, all the way across would be 20. So that's what's correct. Now the statement says help these people with their misunderstandings and correct their errors. His misunderstanding is that he had to take the square root instead of dividing by 4. But again, he had the part of it correct where he multiplied by 2. So the correct answer should have been the diameter of 20.